Now let's move on and talk about some elements that go beyond LSDAS. And we're going to go ahead and move on to really one of the most important and powerful pieces of your application. And I know Ann and I both have a lot to say about this particular topic, so you'll have to bear with us. But hopefully I think you'll find that it'll be very useful. But the topic is the personal statement. So Ann, I'll let you go ahead and give an overview of that, and then we'll kind of continue on.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, the reason I like to talk about the personal statement, and believe me, I could talk about this for 3 hours all by itself. There's so much to talk about. But the reason I like to bring it up and make sure that everybody knows the importance of it is not merely because it's probably the most stressful part of the application after the LSAT score. It is because it's the applicant's calling card. It is the one human aspect of your application that you have 100% complete control over. It's the one thing that turns you from a set of numbers into a flesh and blood person asking to be admitted into a particular law school. So you need to present yourself. You need to ask yourself, what is the message that I want the admissions committee to be left with? My admissions counselors, the one thing that they always say, and I think it's so smart, is when you're writing your personal statement and you're done and you find your final draft, read it and then walk away from it, and half an hour later ask yourself, what do I remember about that? Because that is essentially the same thing that your admissions committee is going to remember. Do you want to be the person that is completely unmemorable? Do you want to be the person that leaves a completely bizarre impression on the admissions committee? No, you want to leave a positive, strong, solid impression on the admissions committee. So you need to be very careful. Ask yourself every single sentence that you write, what is this saying about me? What am I conveying with every word? Every word has a purpose in the personal statement, particularly because it's not meant to be 5 or 10 or 15 pages long. It is 2 pages. 2 pages double-spaced, 800 words to explain who you are, what you are, and how you will contribute to the law school environment. So it's very, very important. And the one thing that I really want to bring home is that this does not need to be a big, long list of reasons for why you want to go to law school. You do, as a matter of fact, the words, why I want to go to law school, don't even need to figure into your personal statement for it to be valid. As a matter of fact, even more importantly, it's when you don't talk about why you want to go to law school that your real, true self comes out, and that you really can come and shine because you're no longer trying to impress. You're just being yourself. And at the end of the day, that's the most valid, important, telling thing, is who you are, not why you want to go somewhere. It needs to be clear and straightforward. This is not the time for flights of fancy. This is not the time for convoluted metaphors or complex similes. It needs to be straightforward. It needs to be about who you are and what you want to bring to the table. What do you want to convey? It needs to be personal. It needs to be specific. It is so very similar to the letters of recommendation in that way because it brings yet another facet to who you are. This is not just somebody else telling the admissions committee, yes, this person is great. It's you going, yeah, I am, and let me tell you why. And moreover, look at the very last point under what it is. It is truthful and positive, even if it's negative. Now, you see, here's the thing. Negative topics are not off limits in the personal statement. They're not. However, you can't just present a negative topic and leave it at that. If you're going to make the choice to present a negative topic, and it's a risky choice, but it's a valid one nonetheless because they can be very, very powerful, make sure you tell the committee, what did I learn? What did I take out of this? How did this change me for the better? And how did this change for the better affect who I am and what I will bring to you? So it needs to be truthful, positive, even if it's negative. And what it's not, once again, much like the letters of recommendation, it is not a regurgitation of your resume. It is such a valuable piece of real estate. It is the one single thing that you can literally write your way out of law school with a poor personal statement. And if all you do is waste valuable real estate regurgitating points that you've already brought forth in the biographical information and the resume, you're essentially wasting your time, and you're wasting the admissions committee's time. It can't be confusing. It can't be offensive. It can't be convoluted. You can't leave a personal statement with the committee asking themselves, what did I just read? I don't even know what I read. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they bring to the table. It also should not be an explanation of the negatives in the application. There's a very specific name for explanation of the negatives in an application, and that is addenda. That it's not the personal statement. The personal statement has the word person in it. It has the word personal in it. Make it personal, make it about you, make it positive, and it does not have to be exactly why you want to go to law school or what you've achieved. I know Dave has some things to say about it, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Man, you just stole one of my points, which is to put the person in the personal statement. But I'll let you have that particular point. I do definitely want to echo some of Anne's points here and expand on a few of them as well. This is your opportunity to tell them who you are. She said, make the numbers come alive, and I agree with that 100%. Now, a lot of times what you get is students who really don't know what they want to write about, and that's a real challenge. Obviously, if you are a really great candidate, you should have some clear and compelling things to say that would interest the admissions committee. And this is one of the things that I think people forget about when they actually write these statements. And when we do admissions counseling programs here, we spend a lot of time reshaping the way people look at the personal statement and helping them to understand that what they probably think about this isn't actually what the admissions committee wants. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of an admissions committee member for just a moment. Now, at first, you're probably pretty excited. This is great. I can now make these choices, life or death. You're in, you're out, you're on the wait list. I'm all powerful. Well, that sounds great. But to get to that particular point, what do you have to do? Well, you have to read hundreds, if not thousands, of essays. You have to look over page after page of law school reports. You have to look at letters of recommendation, all these giant amount of information that each person generates when they apply to law school. And if you think about it, it's very bureaucratic, very administrative, very paperwork oriented. And you know what that means? That means that it's boring. And so what's happening here is they're going through each one of these applications and they're just losing their minds. So then they get to your personal statement, and there's a couple different archetypes that we talk about when we counsel people about bad personal statements. One of them is right on here, regurgitation of the resume. I don't want to just read a glorified resume that says, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I already told you in my resume. Or sometimes people talk about, I went to Europe for 3 weeks and that was fantastic and I learned a lot about myself. It's great the first time you read that essay. After you've read it 300 or 400 times as an admissions committee member, the trip to Europe kind of loses its kind of appeal and its excitement. You need to speak uniquely.